While much of Australia and the rest of the world is focused on Ash Barty winning the Australian Open final and looking forward to the men's decider today, activists have seized on the focus of the rest of the world to highlight a number of human rights issues, including the mystery surrounding Chinese tennis player Peng Shuai. Joining me now are activists Drew Pavlou and Max Mock. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having us on.
Good to have you on. Thanks for getting up early. Max, if I can start with you, you were ejected from the Open the other day for wearing a T-shirt, which basically says, and I think you've got it on now yourself, where is Peng Shuai?
Well, yes, we were given conditions, basically. Some conditions were imposed on us, like we weren't allowed to really show the messages on our shirt. We had to put on an overshirt to button up, and then basically just keep the messages hidden. We had to keep our banner in their cloakroom until we left, things like that. Like, it was a condition that they thought was acceptable because, originally they were going to confiscate it. So they thought this was already, them being open-minded. We didn't think it was true. We didn't want to accept this because we don't want to think we didn't want to feel like we have already given up on spreading the message, so we didn't buy it and we left early. Yeah.
Drew, also yesterday, tell me how it went, because you guys were handing out T-shirts, or that was at least your intention.
Yeah, of course. So in response to the eviction of two activists last week, wearing this exact same shirt, where is Peng Shuai, we basically raised $20,000. We printed 1,000 T-shirts and we handed them out for free outside the final last night. And we had thousands of people. We had thousands of people wearing the yellow ribbons representing a missing person. And there were hundreds of people all across the stadium wearing it last night. The cameramen for Nine News, I think they did a good job trying to make sure that they didn't capture it on the broadcast, but there are many photos with news outlets. So it was really everywhere in the stadium.
What do you think has happened to Peng Shuai?
We don't know. So to this day, she cannot speak to the outside world without the mediation of the Chinese government. And so we're just trying to speak up for this innocent woman who, in response to speaking up about a very serious case of sexual assault, sexual violence, again, featuring a Chinese Communist Party official. In response to that, Chinese Communist Party has basically put her into a forced detention. She's not allowed to speak to the outside world. There have been staged videos they've released through state media where they've basically tried to force her to recant the accusation. And so we're just trying to speak up for Peng Shuai until she is free, until we know that her safety is until we can guarantee her safety. That's what we're trying to do. And we'll go on to the French Open, we'll go on to Wimbledon, we'll go on to the US Open. Until Peng Shuai is free, we will continue to raise our voice at Grand Slams across the world, because this innocent woman shouldn't be forgotten. We shouldn't allow the Chinese government to just try and erase her from history like that.
And Max, we're talking about, and it doesn't really matter what status someone has when it comes to human rights, I understand that, but we're talking about the former #1 doubles player in the world. We're talking about one of the highest profile Chinese sports stars.
Yes, I mean, at the end of the day, it's about China and their procedure of oppression. I came from Hong Kong originally. I was born and raised there. And I think anyone who grew up there would agree with me when I say we've seen these cases all too many times. I grew up seeing bookshop owners, bookshop keepers being disappeared, being put under house arrests, and then some months later, they're forced to be put under confession. They put out a video saying that they're safe under very clearly a lot of intense pressure. So I think to think that they have done the exact same thing to Peng Shuai, to think that they have given Peng Shuai, such a high-profile, well-respected player all over the world, a similar treatment that they just give people who dissent in their daily lives. I think it's outrageous, yeah.
Drew, just finally, we're going to have the focus of the world on China at the end of the week because the Winter Olympics begin in Beijing.
Yeah, of course. And the Chinese government has actually threatened athletes who've, they basically said that there will be consequences for athletes that speak up for human rights at the games. We know that they're forcing all media and athletes at the event to download an app. And there have been cybersecurity analysts who've found that the app can be used for surveillance. There is inbuilt censorship options into the app that basically censor any human rights topic. And so it's terrible. We don't want the Chinese government to do what they've done to Peng Shuai to any athlete at the Beijing Winter Olympics who speaks up for human rights. And it just really underscores just how wrong a decision it was to hand the Winter Olympics to a dictatorship with 1 million people in concentration camps, a dictatorship that disappears people like Peng Shuai who speak up for freedom, speak up about basically just a basic matter of she was speaking against sexual violence. It just underscores just how wrong it is to hand the games to the Chinese dictatorship when you've got people like Peng Shuai who've been disappeared.
Max, Drew, thank you for coming on the program.
Thanks so much.